Hey folks, welcome to Affiliate Nerd Out. I'm your nerderator, Dustin House, spreading that good word about affiliate marketing. You're going to find me here on LinkedIn Live every Tuesday and Thursday, 12:15 Pacific time. Mark it on the calendar, be here and join me and my guest today, Jake Fuller. Is it president or CEO of JEBCommerce?
CEO is that's the title we're sticking with. There's no need to change that.
Okay, King over at JEBCommerce, Jake Fuller. Welcome to the Nerdatorium, sir.
Good to be here. Good to be here. I've watched several episodes, so it's cool to join.
Well, we just met this year over at Affiliate Summit, and you went out of your way to introduce yourself and shake hands, which I really appreciated. And I just absolutely loved your story and invited you on immediately. And you were gracious enough to support me in several different ways, which I really appreciate. And just a great story for the kind of company you are and the kind of person you are at that company. So glad you're here.
No, I appreciate that very much. I had to seek you out. I think it's easy to support the efforts that you're putting out. You kind of create this collective, live aspect of a podcast, if you will, on LinkedIn, and it's kind of an invite for anyone who can join. It's informative, and this industry is based on relationships. So I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Well, I appreciate it. And you and at least two other people think the same, which is great.
You need to start somewhere.
Absolutely. If you would like to be in Jake's seat, come be my guest. Go to dustinhouse.com/nerd and put in a request to see what you want to talk about in affiliate. And our question of the day is, what makes agency life so unique? Because it is a different beast in the affiliate realm to be working for an agency than it is for other roles in this. I want to hear from the folks. Join us in the chat. If you have any questions for Jake and myself, please drop them in the chat as well. But without further ado, Jake, who are you?
Well, I think like many of us, it depends on who you ask. I'm many things to many people, but in this context, I am the CEO at JEBCommerce. I'm someone who's been in the digital space since 2010, 2011. And I'm someone who's painfully optimistic and constantly curious, I would describe myself as, which I think suits itself well for this industry.
Painfully optimistic. I've never heard that term before, but it is. I love it. I love that attitude that you're bringing to the table. I can't say that I am painfully optimistic. I am too. I don't know. I'm not pessimistic by any means, but I point out the bad in things too much, trying to be funny, to be like in that optimistic role.
I think my wife coined that term. I can't recall. It was a while ago. I think she had brought it up once that you're painfully optimistic. Would you stop pointing out all the positives that could come from this bad situation? But that's my demeanor, so I'm okay with it.
Does your wife call you any like TV character or like movie character? Compare. I'm Phil Dunphy from Modern Family, like without a doubt. And
No, not currently. There's no references to TV characters. We have 3 little kids in our house that my wife and I are raising. So if there was, it would be from a Disney show or something like that. We haven't watched an adult show in probably 6 years.
Yeah. You're in the thick of it with 3 onions. Yeah. I hear you. I've been through that stage. And I still watch a Disney movie and cry like basically every weekend. So that's my release.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about JEBCommerce. What's the origin story behind this name?
So JEBCommerce, that's the initials of our founder, Jamie Birch. Okay. And so a lot of people on this call, if you know JEBCommerce, if you don't, you might know the name Jamie Birch. He's kind of an industry vet. He's been around for as long as affiliate's been around, as far as I know. So back in 2004, we have our 20th anniversary as a company coming up this year. Wow. He left, I believe at the time he was at Coldwater Creek running their affiliate efforts, and he started to build out more or less a consultancy that turned into a full-blown agency and built a business out of it, and has been doing quite a bit for the industry ever since. So that's the origin story.
It's just his initials, right?
Yeah, okay. Just the initials. Yeah. People always say, is it JEB? Is it Jeb? We don't have a preference. I don't mind if it's Jeb or JEB, and Jamie didn't either. So
Okay. And you recently took over, and is Jamie stepping out of the picture altogether? What's the story?
yeah, more or less. So Jamie, you guys, if you listen to our podcast or you read some of our content, you'll still hear his voice through season 3. That was recorded, still being recorded, but almost wrapped up. But otherwise, yes, he is. In the last few years, I know he's started some additional ventures. And in the past year or two, we had talked about really where does the direction of JEB go in the future? Where does he go in the future? So he's put some more time and effort, and is required to spend some more time in his other ventures. And I think it was just that time for him to kind of step back and see what was next after 20 years in the industry and running this business. And so last June, I stepped in as CEO, which I had kind of been working toward. I've been taking on additional tasks and wearing multiple hats here at the business, um, and stepped in then. And then we began talks about, is there another step past that? Does Jamie want to stick around and do one thing or another? And turned into myself and Gabe and Nicole Ripley, who have been here for 10 years, 2 of my executives, also co-own it with us. So we acquired it at the start of this year.
Okay.
So we now own JEBCommerce, and I run it as CEO. And Jamie still supports us from a marketing side on finishing up the podcast and consulting with us, but has started to phase out. So
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Well, what a legend. And
yeah.
he will be missed if he just leaves the industry altogether. But great to hear he's leaving you in control. And I want to hear about your backstory. This is really interesting to me. I love a good rags to riches story. Then it kind of feels like that with you. Tell us your story.
I kind of it's a little bit all over the place. I wouldn't picture myself in this seat, several years ago necessarily, but from a career aspect, I've always been in business development, sales, consulting. That's always been the vein in which I've worked from a career
Mhm.
standpoint. And I got my sales teeth. I cut those in door to door knocking. So I
Wow.
spent the early to mid 2000s knocking doors for a living and was successful at doing so. It wasn't more than 4 years that I realized I'm not doing this forever.
Hmm.
And digital marketing I always had interest in. And so it was about 2011 that I started my first digital marketing job at a company called Integrate.
Okay.
Um, and they're known now as kind of a software hub for all of your marketing efforts. So I'm not going to speak too much to what they do because it changed over the years. But when I came on, they had more or less what I would consider an offshoot of a network today in our affiliate space. So they
Hmm.
had this marketplace where we could bring on advertisers, we could bring on publishers, we could connect the two, based off of CPA offers or CPC offers or you name it. But we also acted as kind of agency wouldn't be the right word, but we would manage paid search efforts for brands that we would bring in. We take over their programmatic efforts in
Okay.
house. And so for me to be there was really interesting because I had to learn everything about digital marketing, not just this is the affiliate channel or this is a search channel or this is email marketing. You kind of had to understand how all of it worked together for brands, and that was kind of powerful. And then I just gravitated toward the affiliate side. We had some different partnerships. We didn't call it affiliate back then,
Hmm.
in that particular instance, but I was working with the brands and working with publishers who could drive the result for that brand that they wanted, which by definition, more or less, is affiliate marketing, right? Um, and so I found that interesting. Relationships and sales and consulting has always been a reason I've gone down that vein was due to just meeting new people, creating relationships, and figuring out how to put pieces together. And so from there, I went to another digital agency where we had a bit more focus on the lead gen side of affiliate. And then we also did SEM, SEO work for clients and
Okay.
website builds and designs. And so again, I got to kind of put some more tools in my toolkit in
Yeah.
terms of the digital marketing space. And fast forward, from there, I spent the last 5 years kind of before JEB running my own lead gen business. So I went on my
Okay.
own, worked in kind of financial services, insurance services, had a bunch of clients that I worked with, had about 7 or 8 websites that I built. And I would go to not what I would consider today's leading networks, but I would go to offer vaults in areas where I could post out
Hmm.
offers to create leads, and I would start getting affiliates. So I was going to affiliate summit 10, 12 years ago to find people who could drive traffic to my site.
Okay.
And I owned a bunch of those. So I still stayed in that vein of affiliate. And I had a private exit in 2019. I had hit a point where I could move the company forward. In order to do so, it would need more resources than I had, and I wasn't in a point to go bring out outside capital. And I was ready for a shift. I enjoyed
Okay.
being in that industry, but I think anyone here who's been an affiliate for a while, there's kind of a lead gen side, and then there's the side where you're dealing with D2C products and consumers a little bit more directly, and that's where I wanted to shift. And so
Okay.
in 2020, I landed here at JEBCommerce and came on as the director of business development, learned the business really well, really quick, and rekindled some partnerships I already had in the industry, and have just loved it since. And that's
Yeah.
developed into where I'm at now.
Awesome. Awesome story, man. And it's a story that you don't hear very often in the affiliate world. Usually folks jump into this like coming out of college and stick in the affiliate realm, or move on to some other marketing discipline and like just ditch affiliate altogether. You came the other route, which makes you so much more dangerous in terms of like running a business and understanding what not just affiliates are going through, but also what clients are going through, because you've been on all sides of the equation. That's really powerful.
I think it lends itself well to agency life, that's for sure.
Ah,
You have to balance a lot between clients' expectations, how we operate and service our models, and how we work with
yeah.
publishers and partners and networks and the like.
Yeah, and your workflow throughout the day, without a doubt, like need to balance a lot of different avenues. Can be difficult. All right, so tell us more about JB Commerce and what you guys do, and who you're servicing out there.
Yeah, so JEBCommerce has always been very hyper focused on affiliate marketing and program management. So as a full service OPM or agency is where you would classify us. That's always been our lane. I point that out because there's a ton of options out there for people these days. You can find affiliate services from other digital agencies, from PR agencies, from networks themselves that have their own in-house affiliate teams that will help you manage your program. As an agency, we always wanted to stay really focused on fundamentally how do you properly and correctly grow affiliate programs for brands that don't have that experience, they don't have the resources in house, and so that's really always been our focal point. So who we're servicing, we've kind of jumped all over the board in terms of what our niche is. Um, we're a boutique agency, you could call us. We
Okay.
usually average anywhere from 8 to 15 people that are running our programs and that are working with us here at JEBCommerce. So nothing like some of our competitors that are far larger. And so the types of clients that we typically look for that we do really well with are clients that are anywhere from that SMB size up to very large companies. But we don't have global presence, right? We don't have boots on the ground in other countries.
Hmm.
We're all here in the US and really focus on brands that are looking to get a program started, or one that they've had for some time that they can't figure out why it's not working after they set it up and walked away. Um, you know,
Yeah, it turns out you can't just let it sit and it's going to grow. Apparently
no,
not.
no,
And
they keep
speaking of,
trying.
yeah, they all do. Speaking of clients, we're going to get into our topic of the day, and that is really setting client expectations. And when you're onboarding new clients, what is one of the first things that you guys get started with?
Yeah, when it comes to expectations, we have quite a process built out when new clients come in. So we actually, to back off, when we actually launch a new client, these expectations start well before that. So really through the sales cycle is understanding what that client's looking for, what their expectations are, and if we can service that properly. As we build out what expectations they should have of us, then we can have a good start to the relationship. But nonetheless, every partnership that we launch starts with a pretty in-depth, um, call it a questionnaire, right? We do kind of a Q&A with them, kickoff calls. We build a full-blown 12-month strategy roadmap for them that outlines
Mm,
different benchmarks they should see from us over the course of time in that
wow,
first 12 months.
smart.
And that's important, right? Because when you bring on a client, you've got to have a roadmap for them. You've got to have a roadmap internally so your team members understand what that workload's going to look like and how to process that out over each month.
For sure. And the necessity of setting those expectations are crucial, especially in that agency life of we're
Yes.
setting you up for success for the next 12 months to ramp up slowly. And it is inevitable, no matter how often and how hard you set these expectations, month 3 rolls around and sales are limited. You will always get that client asking, like, why aren't we seeing more sales?
It happens. It happens all the time. And it does. I will say it matters how you set expectations from the beginning, but you can cross all your T's and dot all your I's, and you'll still have clients that say, "Hey, it's month 3. Why haven't we tripled revenue yet? Or
Yeah.
why haven't we, jumped to 30% attribution in the channel for e-com?" And so it's really important, I think, when you're doing discovery with any client, if you're an agency, if you're watching and you work in an agency or you run an agency, that's the number one thing we look for is what those expectations are for them internally. And then more importantly, are those expectations coming from the individual you're speaking to or their boss or their boss's boss? And does that expectation change based on who you're talking to within that brand? Because sometimes that's the case. And so you've got to go a little bit deeper and understand truly what they're looking for and what their education level is on affiliate marketing. Because sometimes you'll find it's just an educational gap where their expectations are blown out because they are assuming something can be done that can't in a time that it can't be done. And if you suss that out, you can educate them and hopefully get them in line with what reality looks like. If that makes sense. If that
Education
makes sense.
is such a hard part about it as well. And I want to
Mhm.
get into education, but before I leave this topic,
Mhm.
what is a good benchmark you would say you start that expectation with for clients? Like my talk track is after 12 months, you may see up to 20% annual revenue additional to what you have today. Is that something like a talk track? Is that a good benchmark for you guys, or kind of what you talk to?
Yeah, I think it's not uncommon that I speak to what I would call industry benchmarks, right? So in
Okay.
12 months, we can add, X percentage of lift or this much attribution towards total e-com, but it's very unique to each client. So every brand's going to have different goals or different KPIs that they want to measure against, and they might want to leverage affiliate for different reasons.
Hmm.
And that dictates how those benchmarks might change and how those expectations might change. So you might have a brand that's starting a brand new program, has never tried affiliate. The results over the first 3 to 12 months for that brand are going to be very different than what we're trying to do with a brand who's had a 10-year program.
Right.
Maybe they're a household name, right? We're already working on a massive program here. It's not about do we add 20% lift? It's are we adding incrementality to this program? Are we creating more profitable relationships? Are we diversifying the partnerships that we have in this program that's been running for 10 years?
Yeah,
Um, et cetera. So it is a case by case unique basis because every brand's got slightly different expectations and goals overall.
for sure. And where do you think most folks fail when it's when we're talking about client expectations? Uh, where are the companies failing the most to talk to executives here?
Yeah, that's a good question. And if you're talking on the brand side, I think someone who doesn't have experience in affiliate marketing or hasn't done their homework, there's still that conception where you can turn it on and ramp it up and hit a high volume of affiliates. They're going to come into my program. They're going to want to run my stuff, and they have this internal expectation of what they think is going to happen. And so I'm speaking on the brand side here. If you're
Yeah.
if you're speaking of brands and what their expectations are, again, you have to identify what they think affiliate marketing is and how they think it's going to run. And
Mhm.
then you can kind of fill in gaps and ask them, how did you get that information and how do we identify what's realistically going to happen and who we're going to target. I think as an agency, where you can fail in client expectations, and this is kind of flip side, right? And not realizing what those expectations are is not diving deep enough. I had touched on this before, but I can talk to 3 different people at the same brand, and they all have a slightly different idea of what
Uh,
they think the affiliate channel should be doing and how it should be measured or tracked or reported on. And so it's our job to really dive in and understand how do we put this into one strategy, and are we all in line with these benchmarks that we're aiming for over the next 12 months. And so as a brand, it's also important that you have kind of unity behind what you're expecting out of the channel. So if there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, however many people might be having eyes on the program and judging it, do you guys have a unified set expectation on what you're looking to get out of it? And if you don't, we need to fix that so that we can all be on the same page and move forward.
Okay, gotcha. And I often earlier on in my career, I was hearing nothing but like coupon sites are not giving me incrementality, and we want content sites, and that was kind of the talk track I would do when I'm consulting or pitching clients. Like, we're going after content sites. That's what you guys want. That's what I'm going to go get. And that talk is great, but like the diversification of a program became more and more apparent in the more programs that I would run. And I feel like that expectation of strictly content sites and the affiliate program might be a recipe for disaster. And like setting that expectation to clients might be with someplace other agencies might be failing here.
Well, and it can be difficult. You have clients who are dead set on content only. That's all we want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about incrementality and different topics as to why they think coupon sites or loyalty sites maybe shouldn't be part of their program. But what I would advise people to do, if you're working at a brand as an account manager and you're being told this is how we need to run this, or you're an agency and you're managing accounts and you're hearing this from your client on a call, is stop and ask why, first of all, and then second of all, dive deeper. When someone says, well, they're not driving incremental traffic, they're not driving new to file, they're not driving new acquisition on these different categories, ask them how they're measuring that. You'll be shocked at how many times they don't know the answer to that question. And so they're driving this based off of what I would call buzzworthy topics within the industry. And over the last few years, it's been very buzzworthy to go after content partnerships and influencers and social media figures and try to create an affiliate program that's based around those categories. And if you can pull in a couple big names, hey, that's success. We did it. But those programs typically, anytime we review a program like that, I find it interesting when they have that strategy, because when they do have a big win, you see this big spike in revenue for a week and then it drops off and then they're back to going, why are we not producing any revenue in the affiliate program? Well, you're not diversifying and you're not tying together how these partnerships and how consumers behave online. You might see these spikes in sales, but if you don't have a holistic approach to how your partnerships are being diversified in the channel, you're not going to see consistent growth metrics over time.
Great. And that ties in well with our client education aspect of running an agency. And how do you guys approach this to educate your clients?
That's a good question. I mean, we have a lot of resources over 20 years from our own internal stuff. So step one, the first call that if I'm on a call with a brand new prospect who is looking at JEBCommerce and considering our services, the first thing I do is dive in and try to understand what their level of education is and what their experience is in affiliate marketing, what they understand about it. And then based on that info, from the get, I start following up with links to, short podcast or a short content article or a blog post that's from us, from Martech, from the PMA, from network partners, and try to fill the gaps in where I think they should probably read up a little bit. And that process doesn't stop. So we have clients we've managed for 5, 8, 10 years, and we're still on calls where we're talking about a new partner that's on the scene, or they want to talk about buy now, pay later partners that weren't there a few years ago and weren't really a topic, and now they're a pretty hot topic and kind of an up and coming category. So there's constant education. You have to realize it doesn't stop. And I think for us, it's just, I think for anyone who's in affiliate marketing, education, whether it's to your boss at the brand you work at or it's to your client as an agency, it's constant. But that also comes from learning from them and understanding what about their business has changed or diversified over time, and how does that apply to what we're doing within the channel.
Awesome. And so you have written assets, you have video assets, giving them, it's hard to tell people to go and educate yourself in a respectful kind of way, right?
Yeah.
I haven't figured that out, in all honesty. Like, what's the right way to approach that? And coming from a place of help is always a good way to approach it, obviously, but it's always a fine line. I still struggle with that.
Yeah, there is, and they don't always read the articles or click on the links I send, but I think you can find ways to fill the gap. So if we have a client who really doesn't understand maybe a particular category within the affiliate space, maybe they've got a base level knowledge of how loyalty partners work.
Hmm.
By all means, let's schedule a call with one of their top loyalty partners and facilitate that call between us, the publisher, and the brand, and do a little EDU one-on-one on exactly how they operate, how they're targeting consumers, how they're driving traffic to their offer, how they're promoting that offer. And so sometimes you can find ways that help educate them, connect them directly to your publishers. We don't have to be gatekeepers as agencies when we're working on these accounts. If there's time in the day and they want to learn, that's
Yeah.
another good way to do it.
Okay. Good point. We're gonna switch gears here into a defend your post situation, and this is a little early in the episode, but it's super relevant. So, I found this. This is 3 years ago, mind you, but you were very excited about your hiring here at JB. Come join the great team. But this brought up a trend I see in the industry of agencies seem to be hiring all the time. Like if you go look at affiliate manager job posts, there is going to be a large majority of those open recs at agencies. And I'm just so curious why that is.
That is a good question. I can probably answer that to some degree. So to back up on that post, you said I sounded excited. Maybe it's the optimist in me, but but prior to sending emails, I have to go back and count how many exclamation marks I put in and remove some so that I don't seem like a crazy person. I get really excited. I'm like, oh, this client wants to chat about this. This guy asked me this question. And I have to remove those. So I probably was excited when I posted that.
You're
Uh,
very bubbly on paper, is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah, a little more than maybe I should be. But to your question, in terms of hiring with agencies, agency life is a bit unique, and I think that's something we'll get into as well. But from a hiring aspect, it's very demanding in agency life, and so
Mhm.
yeah, I think you have a twofold issue. Agencies can have kind of booms in clients onboarding, and you can forecast out and we can look at what are our hiring needs compared to our current client roster,
Yeah.
and how can we keep an even balance so that we don't sacrifice our service to current clients while bringing on new clients. But it doesn't mean you won't have a breakout quarter or a breakout year where you just end up with more clients than you forecasted.
Hmm.
And so you kind of almost always have to have this always on mentality where we need to know if there's talent in the talent pool that we can pull from quickly and hire in to train up and help us catch up to the needs that our clients have. I think that's something we've faced. You've also, in the last 3 years, I think it's a unique scenario between COVID hitting, the pandemic, and kind of what that did to the industry, and then the subsequent years having kind of this hiring boom and these, big offers and big opportunities for people to move around jobs. You saw not just in our industry, but I think across the board, a lot of people were shifting jobs and testing out a new career, a new position, jumping ship for more money. And then you had, I think they deemed it the Great Resignation. So then you have this period where people are just, throwing in notices. And so you're always trying to keep up in agency life with how do we manage our current client roster? How do we hit forecast? How do we make sure hiring needs are done so ahead of time so that we don't run into problems? But like any business, you can't always predict everything and you can't always, get it right. So there's almost just a constant need to have talent being interviewed and prepped for positions that are opening consistently or not.
Yeah, and I agree. And one of those things when I was working at Grovia, when we were scaling up our recruitment agency aspect of it is hiring young kids out of college, getting them their
Hmm.
first job, and my role, of course, at the company was training and teaching affiliate managers how to manage programs the right way and how to go about doing email campaigns to prospective partners. But you guys must have some internal training that you guys always do as well. So hiring on a constant basis, you guys probably hire on the younger side as well in that kind of capacity.
Yeah, it's something that's always been kind of a cultural aspect of what Jamie set up. We always try to give opportunities to someone who's maybe looking to break into the industry,
Yeah.
doesn't have the ability to, and we train them up at JEB. And employee development's a big part of what we do here. And the idea is continue to train them for that next role. And sometimes it's at JEB where they get promoted, they take on more responsibility and move up, or you'll see them elsewhere. There's a lot of people in this industry who have JEB on their LinkedIn page somewhere at some point where they trained up here as a first job or maybe
Yeah.
intermediate position as they went on to a next amazing role, depending on where their career took them.
Mhm.
So, I mean, with that aspect too, you've got times where you hire new people coming in to the industry. They might find this isn't working for me, and you find employee retention. Um, not becoming an issue. But if you hire, say, 5 assistant affiliate managers, you might find that 3 or 2 of them go, maybe this isn't quite right. Maybe I want to go over and shift this way from a digital marketing standpoint. Affiliate was something they wanted to test and they ran the other way.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. And so then you're just keeping that role open to make sure the ones that stick and the ones that feel right, those are the ones that you really see progress in their career and in our industry.
Yeah, and it's a situation. If you perform, you rise up in the ranks, just like any other job that you would see out in the industry. Like it is really apparent that you want to uh, promote the folks that are kicking butt like immediately and taking on more responsibility, or at least shift them into a role of into a training where they're managing folks rather than just being that solo artist. So um, you touched on agency life not being for everyone, and that is a might be a difficult concept for a lot of people to process. But do you feel like agency is life is for everyone out there?
Definitely not. I think it goes into the hiring aspect of retaining the talent that wants to be in this life, and it's not made for everyone. So, agency life is very fast paced. It's very demanding. I do think there's a lot of pros if you've got agency experience on your resume. You have to you come out of this a bit more diversified, a bit more well rounded, and part of that aspect is because you're not managing a single program or a set of programs for a
Mhm.
single brand where you kind of have, I wouldn't call it blinders, but you have your set of expectations, your set of KPIs, your set of brand goals, and you're managing to that very specifically, even when you're reaching out to publishers. When you work at an agency, you have to be a bit more nimble. You've got to be quick and you've got to be extremely good at time management.
Mhm.
Because if, as an agency, we're representing many brands, right? Multiple brands that we're working with. They're all different. They all have different expectations. They all have um, different goals and KPIs based off of what they're looking at. So there's not one call that's ever the same. If I had 5 client calls today, they'd all be different. We'd be talking about different aspects of affiliate marketing, all within the confines of the channel, but they could all be completely different phone calls. And
Hmm.
so you're starting to learn very quickly if you're in working at an agency as an account manager how to navigate different brand goals, personalities, different brand budgets, how they view budget, how they view the channel and other channels that they're investing in, and you kind of have to force yourself into learning those other channels if you don't already know them, because those topics will come up. So agency life is, yeah, it can be very demanding and um, very quick. It's quick
Okay.
moving. That's why I love it though.
Ah, yeah.
I don't like doing the same thing every day. And if I wake up in a week from now and I've done the same thing for 5 days, I'm pretty bored. My days are different each day to the next, and I love it. So
Yeah, if you're into fresh challenges, great for you. And you're also diversifying your portfolio of experience is great at an agency. You don't get pigeonholed into one specific niche. Uh, great realm. But what about the new hires? Do you handle them in the same kind of capacity? as you do clients, where you're setting the expectations like, hey, this is going to be hard work. But if you do well, we're going to see results and you're going to see results.
I think whether we're talking about client expectations or new hires, it's always a work in progress. But
Mhm.
yes, very much so. I mean, we're looking for, I don't think anybody wants to bring on, and this goes both ways. Nobody wants to join a company thinking this is going to be great, and then they're smacked in the face with reality that this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
And we also don't want to have someone come in and be unhappy and not be excited to be here and start learning. So we try very hard to make sure we're identifying certain aspects of personality traits, experience, and then outlining this is what the work's going to look like. This is what the expectation looks like. Are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable jumping on calls with clients? Are you comfortable learning about how to use Excel a bit better and how to run data analysis? Are you comfortable logging into multiple networks at once and learning how they all operate a bit differently? So so definitely we try to set that as much as we can.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can only do so much at some point.
Yep.
Awesome. Really appreciate your time here, Jake. Great to see you. Great to connect with you. How do others connect with you to learn more about JEBCommerce?
A couple of ways. You can jump on LinkedIn, connect with me there, send me a DM. My email is simple. It's jake@jebcommerce.com. I answer all of those personally. So feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Past that, if you just want to learn more about JEBCommerce, you can go to the website. We have a specific page for the Nerd Out fans here. So jebcommerce.com/nerdout. We'll take you to a landing page and you can chat with us there. You can get a free audit service from us, whatever you're looking for. So
Excellent. Tell us more about that audit service. What does that entail?
it's a little bit different depending on the brand and what they're looking for and what they're interested in. But nonetheless, one thing to kind of go into our origin story about how we operate, who we service. We do a lot of audits. And so any brand we bring on, we audit their current affiliate if they have one, right? If it's an existing program, we audit that program for the past few years. And it's almost unnerving how often you find red flags out of the gate and things that you learn immediately, right? Our assistants learn this month one, do approvals every day, go in and check FTC disclosures on any content sites, make sure there's compliance there, check coupon usage and compliance there, check, TM bidding compliance, terms compliance. So there's a lot of different daily mundane tasks that get done. And so a lot of the times we realized, why don't we just put a simple audit together to identify some of the key fundamentals of your affiliate program that are being missed, ignored, or just underrepresented or misunderstood. And so our audit is fairly simple, but it jumps in and kind of checks off this big box of here's everything that you can identify in 30 days to turn this around and make a fundamentally sound program that allows you to start scaling. Because a lot of people think they can just continue to scale, and if they're not fundamentally running that program the right way every day, that scale can be very messy and it's not consistent, and you don't see year-over-year growth.
Awesome. Well, that's a great opportunity for anyone out there that wants to get a second pair of eyes on their affiliate program, whether you're already, managing this internally, or you're doing nothing with the program, or you just want to, or expect more from your program. Go check out jebcommerce.com/nerdout. Go get your free audit and see what they can do for you, and give you a fresh perspective and a game plan for the future. No risk. So pretty awesome. Well, Jake, appreciate your time again, sir. And where are we going to see you next? Are you going to PI Live?
Yep, I'll be at PI Live in Miami next April. I'll also be at Think Tank. So those are the next two I have on my calendar in April.
Okay. I'm not sure if I'm doing Think Tank or not, but we'll see. But I'm definitely going to be at PA Live doing a affiliate nerd out live podcast there. So
Nice.
Look forward to seeing you there. And for all those other folks out there, keep on recruiting, and we'll see you out there.
Thanks for having me, Dustin.
You got it, Jake. We'll see you.
All right. Bye.